What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the top of the map in the red color, playing as Odin, the one-eyed god of the gods. I don't know. His name is the Rapl. His opponent today in the blue color, the sun god Ra, doing things with the sun. And also building a monument nice and early. Very, very interesting start here from Kimo from the get-go. So Kimo spawning in the blue color here. Normally you see hunting dogs get grabbed here for Ra when you have hunt. But Kimo obviously decided to go for that early monument, which means he cannot afford to get hunting dogs. And he goes for a very, very early husbandry. And he's actually cancelled this. So I'm not 100% sure what his intentions are with this build order. There is a build order that exists with Ra, which involves early monument into husbandry, into a fairly standard classical age, which is pretty good. But normally you use that build order on no hunt maps or very low hunt maps. On a map like Savannah, you just don't know what's on the map. So this one here with the one rhino, you could have one rhino in your base, and then just outside of your base, as Kim was about to find out, you could have a metric butt ton of hunt. You can find yourself upwards of 10 giraffes just sitting in one location. So Kimo's going to be wandering around here, checking that out, and we'll see where he's going to go to from here. Rapl, on the other hand here, he's great hunted his initial rhino, super standard. Going to be eating those and living the dream here. Over here, we've also got the handful of gazelle have been found. And the nice thing about playing Odin is that pretty much every single game, you're going to be able to get yourself to the classical age off of your starting hunt. So every single game, you should have no issues with that. Even on maybe the worst case scenario would be like a 2 zebra start on Oasis. But even then, maybe on Oasis, you might want to advance a little bit later. Great, hunt your goats and live the dream. So one of the big, really good things about Odin there. Anyways, house in the middle of the map here for Rapl. He might be thinking about throwing a forward temple down, which can do a lot of early damage to a Ra player. However, it can induce some unwanted early aggression because there's a weak point on the map that the Ra player can exploit. We'll see what's going to happen here. Still no upgrade coming through for Kimo, it looks like. In fact, we see a second monument coming through for Kimo, which is moving up onto the chicken. He's found himself a relic here. He's got the Scarab pendant. So I don't want to speak too soon, but this could be a Shifting Sands Scarab play from Kimo. I don't want to speak too soon. He's got himself the relic. He's going double monument super early. He's going to be probably trying to get to the classical age without raining, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has to farm in the archaic age here, just considering what's happening. And there goes the husbandry. I do think that you actually kind of want husbandry in a sense. I don't think it helps at all on the chickens, but it just means it's going to be less walking time for the villagers essentially. But we see the villagers now moving over here onto the woods. So this is going to be looking to go for that wood, to get that Shadoof nice and early. And Kimo might be just going one town center here. Alternatively, it could just be a Bast play. Bast is really, really good here against Norse. We've seen it time and time again, how much damage Bast can do, but a later advance here from Kimo is going to mean a lot of opportunities for Rapl to get a lot of damage done here. As you can see, he's already got the temple up. He's already going through Freya here. Moving in, we see the Ulfsark seeing these villagers on this food. Little bit of early game harass here. Kimo not paying attention. Needs to just Alt-S these villagers. This Ulfsark does no damage until the classical age does pop. So he's pulling back, waiting for some more units here, and Kimo might actually have to pull off of all of these chicken and move in onto his herdables before he might have otherwise liked to, because he's still not advanced in this game. As you can see him pulling his villagers now off of this location back to the hometown center. Pharaoh drops onto empowering this one. So every single bit of food that is getting dropped off into this town center does assist Kimo as he's going to be going through Bast. So he is going for a very, very late advance time here. 4 minutes, 40 seconds. That's going to be a 5 minute 40 advance time. 2 monuments with Bast, and it's going to be one town center play for sure here for Kimo. He's getting out the early wood in order to get himself the Horus Sphinx and all the other good stuff that comes with that. And the housing situation is still beginning to start. So now, if Rapl predicts and understands what's happening here, when he sees the 2 monuments, when he sees what's happening, he should consider second town center here and seeing what he can do. Otherwise, he's going to be having to chase around these Sphinx and be in a very, very difficult position. So Kimo here, he's going to have a lot of gold in the bank to build his farms. Definitely wants to get himself the plow as soon as he possibly can. You don't want to be farming without plow as Egyptians. It is much worse than the other civilizations. Normally it's just 10% increase, but for the Egyptians it goes up to 22% of an increase, and that's just because they start with archaic farms that gather much slower. We are seeing the armory getting dropped here. A second Sphinx is coming out, so this is no different than what we are used to here, it seems, as the villagers are going to start making their farms. I like the way that Kimo's making his farms right now. Just one villager building them is completely fair and reasonable, or just make sure that one villager is on each of the farms, and you're going to be living the dream here. Now, Rapl, on the other hand, what is he doing? There is a second town center coming up. It is a little bit... Personally, I don't like this town center placement that much. I would have preferred to see the back town center getting grabbed here. The big problem with Odin over Thor in this matchup against Ra, when the Ra player decides to go for Bast, is you don't have access to Force Setting and you don't have access to Dwarven Mine, which means controlling a second gold mine is really hard for the Odin player. So he has to work out how he's going to do that. We are seeing the walls coming up as those initial Sphinx now coming out here for Kimo. He's going to be searching around. He's cast himself this rain, going to be searching around, still waiting on those upgrades to come through to make these Sphinx a little bit more scary. The Valkyrie coming in here, but that's going to take a lot of damage from the special abilities there of the Sphinx. It actually does quite a bit of damage. It's something like 32 hack damage on that ability there. So going to be moving around trying to find something to do. More walls coming up for Rapl as he is trying to defend these Sphinx with aggressive walls. Now, walls cost a lot of resources, and I don't actually think they do anything against Ra. As soon as you see the walls popping up, you just get your rock and you float over the walls on the Savannah tree, and you just pop the myth unit in and over, and then you're good to go. You drop the myth units down, and then they go and run around like nothing's happening here. Now, unless you wall your actual main base in, you're gonna find some issues, as this Ulsark is also potentially gonna be sniped here, running through the gate. Completely alive, still good. Kimo now moving up through Sekhmet here, so not going through Locust is actually a really big surprise. I mean, we said that he potentially was going to go for Sekhmet, but I'm surprised to see that, given he's made the Sphinx already. So this Sekhmet is maybe a counter to the counter that Rapl is trying to do here. This is going to be a really big heroic age timing, where the Norse player is normally used to the mythic age timing, that Tornado, Locust, Eclipsed Avengers, that kind of abuse. So Kimo is trying something very different here. Rapl getting up his walls, almost completely finished on those walls. He's not going to have access to that really obnoxious rock, because we do see the villagers have been spot on this position. Kimo not paying attention. He's actually not getting any villager kills just yet. So Rapl playing this early game very nicely. The Herso chasing the Sphinx around, and we've got the Cryo Sphinx getting back home. So Kimo now, he is in the heroic age. He has Sekhmet. He's got enough resources for his Migdol stronghold, and Rapl has to be like, well, how do I defend the Scarab Sphinx, the Eclipse Sphinx? The answer is actually sack that forward town center, because it was a ridiculously big mistake to grab it because of this Scarab strategy that Kimo's going to be doing. So he's going to have to sack this town center, pull back, and try and defend. It would seem he is going to attempt to get to the heroic age. If he can get to the heroic age before the Scarabs come, then at least he will have himself the he will have himself the Frost Giant in order to defend himself against the Scarab, as we are seeing that heroic age incoming. The forward temple on this town center coming up. Very smart to put that temple there. Big things that he needs now to deal with what Kimo is building is he needs to figure out how to beat Axeman Myth Unit. Very, very difficult. Not only Axeman Myth Unit, but Axeman Myth Unit Cavalry. So the really crazy strong Egyptian composition against Norse is Axeman mixed with Cavalry. Cavalry tank and beat the cavalry of Norse, and Axeman beat everything else. So if you can mix them well enough, it can be very, very tough for a Norse player to win these fights, unless you're on EE, in which case you have Bogsviger, and Bogsviger Ulfsark or something like that can be completely fine here to defend against this composition, because the Bogsviger can deal with the Myth units, they can deal with the Axeman, and Ulfsark can deal with the cavalry, or even Huskal can come in and help out. But we are seeing the army now moving in. Still only seemingly one. Oh no, there's two Scarabs here. So the Scarabs moving in. Before we see this damage, let's check what this is doing right now. It's giving 100% bonus damage versus buildings. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, but this town center is gone. There is no way to protect this one. However, Rapl's had this for 5 minutes now. 5-6 minutes. So he is in front by something in the order of 20 villages right now. He should be roughly in that advantage, depending on when he got that town center off. It's 6 minutes, it's 4 minutes, and then 4 times 4, you get your 16 villager advantage ish. And he's going to have to sit back on this and sit in his base and see what he can do. We are seeing Rapl going to attempt to rush towards the Mythic Age. He is going for the Ragnarok here as a response to Kimo's one town center play here, going through Balder. He's got himself the Frost. However, he does not want to use this Frost. I'm telling you, using the Frost would be a devastating mistake because... if he has to, because the Son of Osiris is going to come in, and the Son of Osiris is going to be a very, very big issue for the Ragnarok, and you need that Frost to kind of take that Son of Osiris out, generally, with a Ragnarok. So we'll see if it's going to happen. No, he casts the Frost immediately, hitting all of the units, and now Kimo is going to have to ask himself, well, how do I stop Ragnarok? Can he get to the Mythic Age here? Does he have a market? Yes, he does. Second town center coming up. He's left a little bit of gold in his base, 400 gold there, and he's got that forward gold mine. So Rapl's got questions of his own that he has to answer. How does Rapl in this game right now get a gold staff? He needs to get a gold staff with this Ragnarok, otherwise it is lights out. He is going full all in on the Rag here. He hasn't actually lost many villages in this game, I would say. This is one of the more perfect situations to be in. The only problem being that Rapl has not managed to get himself any army out here. Normally you have a whole bunch of Herso out, you have a whole bunch of extra units, you got 115 population when you click Rag, but this situation is not going to be that. We see the Balder getting close, 83%, 85% yet more units streaming into this location as the villagers continuously getting this food income. Where's the market? The market way too close to the town center. No point in making those what are they called? Ox caravans, as now the army sees the Mythic Age pop here. The Fire Giant comes out. Rapl's going to try and hold on for as long as he possibly can. This villager here has been picked off. One Scarab going down, 2 Scarabs going down, and Kimo is coming home. Let's see what technologies is he going for in this game. He's not getting anything just yet. Skin of the Rhino coming through. Very, very important upgrade. I'm sure we're going to be seeing Masons coming through. Fortified town centers, architects, if he can afford it. Not going to be going to the Mythic Age here, it would seem, as he does not have the resources to do so. Rapl here still waiting on his Rag. He is in the Mythic Age. He is chopping wood down. He can sell that wood for gold, and he can get up to 115 population as best as he possibly can. The problem he has right now, and it's a real problem, is how does he deal with Axemen? He's going to have 2 Fire Giants, which is going to be a big, big help, but the longer he waits, the closer Kimo can potentially get to Osiris, and if Osiris comes, then no answer for Son of Osiris, no answer for Mummies. It's going to be a tough one for him to push through. So we'll see if this Ragnarok is going to work for Rapl or not. Kimo is no longer producing villages from his hometown center, but the resources are starting to pile in for Kimo. I would love to see Kimo making his way to a different location. We see some walls coming up around the Migdol here as Rapl does decide to click Ragnarok in this game up to 201 population at 13 minutes and 35 seconds into this game. Kimo is at 115 of 140 pop. He has himself fortified town centers on the way, so he's going to be going up to 150, 160 population. The cavalry fairly useless now against this army the Rapl has managed to establish. The villagers on this gold mine over here, the Raven coming through, walls over on this position. We've got a house on this gold mine. Every single gold mine here it's currently seemingly Rapl has got vision of, and a big forest fire holding onto this one for this moment in the game to open up this gold mine. Very smart usage of the forest fire. He's going to be seeing the Migdol stronghold. He's going to have to tear that one down, but how does he continue? You can't realistically walk into Kimo's base here. He's got the Axeman, he's got the priest, he's got the pharaoh, he's got the towers, he's got everything. Maybe you have to go around the back and take this back town center down. Rapl here, if we check out his resources, he's got nothing in the bank. This is absolute zero resources. You can sell some of that gold, make some dwarves, make a villager or two, but that's about it. The Migdol just about to fall. The fire giant's doing a good job in the back here. We do see these villagers have made their way over onto this gold mine, but having seen this house, maybe he could think to go elsewhere. We've got a couple of units going to be swinging around here, going to be trying to prevent this gold mine from being grabbed for the time being. The walls are all up. We've got the classic Kimo walls here, double layer to make sure that that location is a little bit more safe than otherwise. The Axeman doing a lot of damage to these Heroes of Ragnarok as Rapl is trying to micro away, utilize the fire giants as best as he can, as we're seeing Rapl now move onto this position. The villagers shanking away with their skin of the rhino leather and that little horn that they take from the rhino to get that extra damage in there. The upgrades for Rapl, as Chad is asking, he's only got copper shield. He really has had no chance here to get anything to happen as another Ulfsark falling. The army now coming through. Look at this Axeman army which Kimo has managed to muster in this game. We've got the two priests, three priests, and a pharaoh here. Kimo, he's managed to mine the gold here. He can just retreat home. He's got a ton of wood in the bank as well. He's going to be completely fine here to just completely just sit in his base. He knows what position Rapl is in here in this game, as more of these infantry units are going to be meeting their demise. The fire giant getting some nice splash damage in here. Lots of dead units there. Still hoping for more fire giant specials to get that splash damage. Another one coming in. So much damage done there. Just imagine if this gets another couple of shots onto these units, they will all fall to the absolute terror that is a fire giant here, as Rapl is trying to make it work here. Villagers now going to be attempting to move up onto this gold mine. A couple of axemen swinging up here, but the Heroes of Ragnarok are already here to prevent these villagers from getting onto the gold mine. Every villager kill here is a huge win for Rapl on this position here. The fire giants, the army needs to swing all the way around to get up onto this position, as the axemen coming through to kind of try and allow the villagers a little bit of time on this gold mine. Kimo is playing this one out of his mind well thus far. This defense is astounding. Kimo being one of the best defensive players in the game to date. You can never kill Kimo. He just says never die, never surrender. That is the Kimo mantra, as now Rapl coming back in, trying to get some more damage done. But Kimo here, he's going up Osiris, and we talked about how big Osiris is going to be here in this game. The Axemen, though, taking a ton more damage there from the fire giants. They're so low HP. So many 1 HP Axemen here, as maybe Kimo needs to pull back and utilize some of that healing that those priests have got, and just sit and wait for himself to get some units back, get some answers for the fire giant so that his axemen can get in there and do their job. Because these fire giants are doing so good here at this point, as as Rapl is still sitting out here waiting. He cannot push into the base of Kimo. It's just too heavily fortified. There's still no masons. There's still no architects. So these buildings are a little bit flimsy, but Rapl's just not had an opportunity to move in here. And now the villagers might want to move back over onto this location. We see a longhouse coming up here. And now the Heroes of Ragnarok going to attempt to move through this gate as he's going to be breaking that one down, realizing how important that is. The Heroes of Ragnarok coming onto this position might be able to hit some of these villages, but they are a couple of axemen already over here, so Rapl's not going to be able to make his way through there just yet. Rapl is probably falling down to a very low on the population count here, 134 of 115. Pharaoh nearly up at full HP, ready to cast that Son of Osiris straight away. He does not care anymore about anything other than getting that Son of Osiris out, getting that mummy over here, and then at least taking down one of those fire giants and really putting a stop to the might that is the Norse Ragnarok here. A couple of units, straggler units getting dealt with here as well, as Son of Osiris does end up getting clicked, and the first lightning bolt of doom comes through as Rapl is now going to attempt to push through this wall here. It's actually completely open. The fire giants using their special ability there, doing so much damage as those villagers don't all fall, but they are very, very battered, very, very bruised, as Rapl pulls back here again. Over here on this position, the mummy manages to take down a frost giant there. That's absolutely huge. The axemen have to get out of here, and Kimo is going to be able to resecure this gold mine if he so chooses, but he's completely happy on this location over here. Son of Osiris doing max damage from afar here as Rapl simply cannot engage this army, and his army's numbers are really starting to dwindle. He is starting to make some dwarves. He's got a whole bunch of villagers queued up onto this gold mine, but he's got a whole bunch of ox carts as well he could send there, but repopulating at this point is going to be incredibly difficult. The axemen all seemingly end up falling to these fire giant here that are doing absolute work, but Son of Osiris is here. He's going to be able to take them down so quickly. He's a little bit out of position here as the Heroes of Ragnarok are going to attempt to get a surround here. I'm sure Kimo's going to keep his Son of Osiris safe here as the Heroes of Ragnarok do manage to get in onto the Son of Osiris. Huge amounts of damage getting done here, but the Son of Osiris is indeed going to be living through this, it seems. Even if he falls, is it too little, too late? As Rapl's population plummets to 15 to 12. He has 12 population left, ladies and gentlemen, as he does decide in the 20th minute of this game to tap out. GG, Kimo utilizing a little bit more skill than your average Ra player uses to put the pain and misery into a Norse player's life here, utilizing the Eclipsed Sphinx, utilizing that relic here, the Scarab Pendant, extra 100% Scarab, Behemoth, Portable Ram, Heliopolis, and Siege damage first buildings. I think that's wrong. I think it's 20%, but nonetheless, it is such a big bonus to have, and he managed to tear through this town center. Is in the main base of Rapl, and Rapl was too scared to hold on to his frost, and that means that the Ragnarok just could not do the damage that you want it to do. You want the frost with the Ragnarok if you can, so you can really get max value done. But in this game, Rapl just could not make it happen. Kimo played it near perfectly, and that was such a well-played game from Kimo. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.